weekend planned, parties and football game with my friends tomorrow afternoon, so I shrugged my shoulders and I went on. As I was walking, I saw a bunch of kids running toward him. They ran at him, knocking all his books out of his arms and tripping him so he landed in the dirt. His glasses went flying and I saw them land in the grass about 10 feet from him. He looked up and I saw this terrible sadness in his eyes. My heart went out to him, so I jogged over to him and he crawled around looking for his glasses. I saw a tear in his eye. As I handed him his glasses, I said, "Those guys are jerks. They should really get lives." He looked at me and said, "Hey, thanks." There was a big smile on his face. It was one of those smiles that showed real gratitude. I helped him pick up his books and asked him where he lived. As it turned out, he lived near me, so I asked him why I had never seen him before. He said he'd gone to a private school before now, and I had never hung out with a private school kid before. We talked all the way home, and I carried some of his books. We turned out to be a pretty cool kid. I asked him if he wanted to play a little football with my friends. He said yes. We hung out all weekend, and the more I got to know Kyle, the more I liked him, and my friends thought the same of him. Monday morning came, and there was Kyle with a huge stack of books again. I stopped him and said, "Boy, you are really going to build some serious muscle with this pile of books every day." He just laughed and handed me half the books. Over the next 4 years, Kyle and I became best friends. When we were seniors, we began to think about college. Kyle decided on Georgetown, and I was going to Duke. I knew that we would always be good friends, that the miles between us would never be a problem. He was going to be a doctor, and I was going for business on a football scholarship. Kyle was valedictorian of our class. I teased him all the time about being a nerd. He had to prepare a speech for graduation. I was so glad it wasn't me having to get up there and speak. Graduation day, I saw Kyle. He looked great. He was one of those guys that really found himself during high school. He filled out and actually looked good in glasses. He had more dates than I had, and all the girls loved him. Boy, sometimes I was jealous. Today was one of those days. I could see that he was nervous about his speech, so I smacked him on the back and said, "Hey, big guy, you'll be great." He looked at me with one of those looks, the really grateful one, and smiled. "Thanks," he said. As he started his speech, he cleared his throat and began. Graduation is a time to thank those who helped you make it through those tough years. Your parents, your teachers, your siblings, maybe a coach, but mostly your friends. I am here to tell all of you that being a friend to someone is the best gift you can give them. I'm going to tell you a story. I just looked at my friend with disbelief as he told the story of the first day we met. He had planned to kill himself over the weekend. He talked about he had cleaned out his locker so his mom wouldn't have to do it later, and was carrying his stuff home. He looked hard at me and gave me a little smile. Thankfully, I was saved. My friend saved me from doing the unspeakable. I heard the gasp go through the crowd as this handsome, popular boy told us all about his weakest moment. I saw his mom and dad looking at me and smiling that same grateful smile. Not until that moment did I realize its depth. Never underestimate the power of your actions. So, what were some of the causes of Kyle's depression and his initial thoughts of suicide in the story? Yeah.
He was being bullied.
He was being bullied, right? They ran at him, shoved him. Yeah.
He switched schools.
He switched schools, absolutely. That's a new thing. You don't have any friends to go talk to. What were some of the signs and symptoms, maybe of mental illness that were displayed in the story? Yeah.
He was carrying all his books home on a Friday.
He's carrying all his books home, right? He thought maybe he was just a nerd, but it ended up, he was cleaning them out because he was suicidal, right? That's the sign of mental illness. Do you think it was difficult for Kyle to seek help? If so, why?
Yes, because it doesn't seem like he did it at first, because nobody knew about his suicidal thoughts.
Right, nobody knew about it. And why? Maybe because he was at the new school. He didn't have any of the friends to go talk to, seek help, or people didn't know him well enough to know if something was wrong. How did the narrator of the story help Kyle through his freshman year?
Well, he helped him on the day that he was going to kill himself, like he was like a kind person to him, and like that changed his mind. And then he was like a friend, and he hung out with him, and he got more friends.
Right, he was his friend. He gave him something to talk to, hang out with, introduce him to the school. Did the narrator have any idea of the impact he made on Kyle's outlook on life? Kyle?
No, he didn't. He said he didn't even know until that time. Like he was so surprised that Kyle was gonna
Right, he was shocked. You never know what impact you're gonna make on somebody. You know, maybe you've already met a Kyle in your lives, and you don't know it. Maybe you've met the Kyle and you let him slip through your fingers and you didn't go, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? So always make sure, you know, we're being kind to each other. So we're gonna do a little activity. They're called phone booth scenarios. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna be in your groups, and I'm going to give you a stack of 7 scenarios. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna read them, and you're going to put them up on the board after you kind of put them in a continuum. You know what a continuum is. So instead of putting maybe like 300 sad, 200 depressed, 200 suicidal, you're gonna rank them kind of like this. Somewhere, you know, start with maybe it's just sad, maybe it's somewhere between sad and depressed. Maybe you're at depressed, somewhere between depressed and suicidal, all the way to suicidal. So you're gonna make one whole row of your 7 scenarios. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you about 5 minutes to do this activity. Once you've chatted with them with your group, come to the table with me, and we're gonna put them up there and talk about it. Okay. So one person from your groups, come get your scenarios. Got it.
I've experienced that firsthand.
Amy this time kind of sad about meeting and getting together fast, and it's gonna go here. And then she has a third one, like something you can express about here. So we're gonna kind of put it on here and then we're gonna take them up so that
Your favorite uncle's absent to Afghanistan. He asked He wants to go.
She's gone through a lot of guys. One of my favorites. So the first thing I noticed, we didn't all pick the same thing. Why? Why is it not all the same?
Because different things affect different people in different ways. So one person you could be like, oh my gosh, you're so stupid, and they'd laugh about it, but the other person could like take it really seriously and.
Absolutely. We react to things differently, right? So maybe we've got, you're sad about being divorced, or your parents getting divorced over here, but we've got it also all the way down here, or between depressed and suicidal. That can obviously affect somebody differently. We've also got, girlfriend, boyfriend broke up. Now it doesn't, pretends like you don't exist. We got that under sad. We've got that under suicidal too, right? I mean, hey, you thought you two were going to get married. That was the deal. That was your person. I mean, that can totally affect you, right? Obviously, it's a bigger deal for somebody. So what I want you to keep in mind is that obviously, as we talk about, things affect people differently. So what might be no big deal for me could be absolutely devastating for you. And we need to, have this understanding that people react to things differently and have respect for others, as we talk about depression today. So we're going to talk about the factors and situations that can contribute to depression. We're going to identify ways to handle those situations, including treatment options. So depression itself, clinical depression is subject to a deep and long-lasting sense of sadness and loss of pleasure. These are feelings. These are feelings that can severely interrupt your ability to work, play, eat, sleep, and concentrate. Feelings can last days, weeks, months, or even years. Sometimes major depression occurs in one episode, and sometimes it comes back again. Important thing to remember, depression can be treated. So we remember the difference between anxiety and depression, right? Yes. It's obviously going to affect people differently. So as we talked about, you react to situations differently. So really quick, just take 1 minute, talk to somebody next to you about some situations that youths, such as yourselves, that might lead to depression or worse. And then I want you to talk about positive ways to cope with those situations. So just real quick, take 1 minute.
Other than that, I mean, he's so hot.
Okay. So what were some of the situations that you come up with? Over here. Death, absolutely. So maybe death of a family member, death of a pet, somebody close friend.
When someone likes your sibling more than you.
Favoritism, maybe? Okay.
Are you talking about commitments you make?
Say it again.
Commitments you make?
Commitment. So maybe if you're overcommitting yourself, okay.
Jealousy of a sibling.
Jealousy of a sibling. Okay, can I talk about that?
Social pressures.
Social pressures.
Kind of all of your friends kind of changing at once.
Right. So maybe, as you're finding yourself, maybe you're growing apart from friends that you once, identified with. Yeah.
Stressing out about getting everything done.
Right. Lots of commitments, stress,
Daily problems.
family problems. Absolutely. Something that's probably faced all of us at one point or another, bullying. Right. We all had something being said about ourselves. Right, we talked about that. Okay, so what are some positive ways to cope with the situation? So if your pet does die, or if your sibling's favored over the other one, yeah. Try not to think about it. And come up with, preoccupy yourself with something you like, do your hobbies. What else? What if you're getting bullied? How can you deal with that? Tell the teacher? Stand up for yourself? Easier said than done, right? Yeah. So other options, take care of your body. Eat healthy, even though you have a tendency not to be hungry, or maybe you're overeating. Try to get enough sleep, even though a lot of times when you're stressed, you have a difficult time getting adequate sleep. And exercise, it's good for your body. Strenuous exercise will, you can use that as a stress management technique because the chemicals, endorphins, are released in your bloodstream during exercise. And these chemicals will cause you to feel good, give us some more energy, and help us sleep. Other suggestions, ask for help when you need it. Don't be too hard on yourself. Determine which stressors are under your control. Talk to a friend, family, teacher, counselor, coach, pastor, somebody you trust. Get involved in a project designed to help others. Adopt a pet or volunteer with a local humane society. Or talk with a counselor or therapist. I know one of the favorite things us college kids like to do is finals come around, they bring out the therapy dogs to the library and the union. Or we go to the mall and you play with the puppies and the kittens, right? Nobody ever do that? Because when you're at college, you're in a dorm, so maybe you're away from your family pets, or you don't have pets. What do pets seem to do? They're cute, they're cuddly, they're soft, they're purr, they lick, It's total stress reliever. There's somebody there to play with you, and they're going to like you no matter what. Then there's medication. It's often prescribed for
Teachers and
depression,
students,
mental
please
illness.
pardon this interruption. There is no worry about the emergency sounds that you hear. There is a malfunction. We are taking care of it at this time. Thank you, and please continue with your day.
Thank you, brother. Okay, and then there's antidepressants. These are found effective in treating children and adolescents with depression when properly monitored by a doctor. Medications are selected, are selected according to type of depression disorder, other meds you might be taking, your age, and side effects. So what I want you to do, it's a lot of words, but it's not a hard project. I know, it's just so that I'm trying to explain it clearly. So with your groups that maybe you're doing your projects with, you're going to create 2 lists. One list of 7 causes, one list of 7 symptoms of depression. Does that make sense? Okay, that's easy. Part 1, you make a list. 2 lists. After you've made your lists, each person in your group is going to ask 3 people to rank these, whatever your causes and symptoms are, from 1 being least common to 7 being most common. Once you get them ranked, yes?
Do you mean like most commonly found in people or most common sign of depression?
they see the least to most, right? Probably most like common being the sign or symptom, the cause or symptom. So for example, maybe one of your causes was childhood trauma. Maybe this, I go out and I survey my 3 friends. It gets ranked as a 3, a 4, and a 2. So my total number, just for me, is 9. Now if you've got 3 other people in your group, you're going to add them all up. What you're going to do with these numbers after they're ranked is you're going to put it into a Wordle. This is a website a lot of people use. Does anybody know what a Wordle is?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to explain it. But it's going to give, what do I want to call it, priority to the words that get typed in the most. So if you're entering childhood trauma in 9 times, maybe that shows up pretty big. That way we can kind of get a picture of what the lists mean to us. Does that make sense? So it's nothing too hard, it was just a lot to explain. So what I'm going to give you, you only have to make 1 Wordle per group. So I'm going to give you each a paper. It has 5 questions on it. I do want you to each answer your 5 questions. But when you turn your homework in, turn in your list and turn in your Wordle along with your papers and just staple it all together so I know who's in the group. Or make sure your name's on all the pages. That way I'm giving credit to everybody in the group that participated. Are there any questions? Yes.
Is the Wordle with the causes and symptoms or one separate for each one?
Both. Just you're gonna go ahead and use both. I just wanted you to make 2 lists so that you understand, but we're gonna put it into 1 Wordle. Good question. This will be due Monday, which then pushes your test and your group project back to Wednesday. So now you got a couple extra days to work on it and a weekend. You're welcome. Yes.
Can you like put us up to like Wednesday?
Yes.
Like our other ones?
Yeah, the group total unit project, yeah, it's Wednesday because that's when your test was Monday, but since you guys had your registration, we'll push it back. Okay?
Right, that's how we do it. Oh,